Hasia, just below that. Thus, it is well settled principle of law. Rashid got it?
Yes.
Thus, it is well settled principles of law that an employee of a state within the meaning of Article 12 of the Constitution can initiate a proceeding against his employer if his fundamental rights guaranteed by Part 3 of the Constitution of India are violated by the employer. This being the position in law, the workman within the meaning of Section 2S of the Industrial Disputes Act 1947 of an employer who is a state within the meaning of Article 12 of the Constitution of India can initiate a writ proceeding when his fundamental rights guaranteed by Part 3 of the Constitution are violated by his employer. Thus, a workman within the meaning of Section 2S of the Industrial Disputes Act 1947 can initiate a writ proceeding against his employer is a state within the meaning of Article 12 of the Constitution of India when the disciplinary proceeding is arbitrary and thereby violated the provision of Article 14 of the Constitution, and when he is deprived of his livelihood are not in accordance with the procedure established by law, thereby violating Article 12 of the Constitution of India. In such type of cases, I'm of the view that even if the workman could have raised an industrial dispute under the provisions of the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, that would not prevent the workman to move a writ application when his fundamental rights under the Constitution are violated. In the Whirlpool Corporation case, Supra, it has clearly been laid down that availability of alternative remedy in a case of breach of fundamental rights and breach of principles of natural justice or action taken without jurisdiction would not at all stand remedy in a case of breach of fundamental rights and breach of High Court. Now, this is my submission, and I have got the Whirlpool case as well here, but that is the general.
Very settled principle.
That is general. I am not really on that because anyway, I have got an election. I can choose, and that three-bench judgment of the Supreme Court is also there, 2009. So I'm fortified by those. And now, if I may just once one thing I would like to place here. That this is from. These fall from. Fellowship kindly sees. Now, sometimes we are a bit shy to quote from these textbooks of jurists.
Yes.
If your lordship reads, that's grace. Praise on interpretation.
Yes.
Yes. Now, if your lordship reads, in Great Northern Fishing Company versus Egg Hill, the question arose whether Section 4 of the Employers and Workmen Act 1875 gave any remedy against a seaman for breach of his contract in the face of the provisions of the Merchant Shipping Act 1854. Field J said, the duty under consideration in this case is an ordinary obligation to perform an ordinary contract of service, to the breach of which has been annexed the general remedy by action in favor of the employer ever since the contract of service itself. In order, therefore, to be able to hold the employer is deprived of that remedy, the mere annexation of a new specific remedy would not by itself be sufficient. It must also appear from the statute to have been the intention of the legislature that the general remedy should not coexist. Otherwise, the new remedy will be merely cumulative and in aid of the general one.
So how does it help you?
This is actually what your lordship is being looking at. The new remedy actually aids.
The new remedy,
Yes.
according to you, is the writ proceeding.
No, the new remedy is the Industrial Disputes Act. That is a specific act. Let's read a bit further, it will be clarified. Common law remedy displaced where remedies are inconsistent, but if, as Lord Cranworth said in O'Flaherty versus M. Dowell, it appears that the statutory right could not, without very great inconvenience, coexist with the ordinary common law right, and so must have been intended as a substitutional, not an additional remedy, the common law remedy will be held to have been taken away. This is not the case. there must be a specific injunction that only industrial disputes and no more. But your lordship has seen that from the judgments which I have shown your lordship, that the rights which come only under the Industrial Disputes Act, like the workmen's compensation or all these things, when there is a certified standing order, only then is the right under the enforceable under the Industrial Disputes Act. But as I have shown your lordship, that they coexist. Now these things coexist with the writ jurisdiction.
And you have the right to choose.
Yes. I have
which forum to avail.
That is. Now, if 1 or 2 more minutes, things which I'll just wind up before I wind up minute. If your lordship kindly comes to.
You'll please give me a photocopy of this
yes,
with the.
Here, minute. It's here.
All right, you can take back the book and the photocopy will suffice.
Now, now I'll go to the next point, where I have canvassed the idea that I should be under the bipartite agreement. I should be given the full subsistence allowance, which I have prayed for during the. And number 2 is that I should be given pension, full pension. Now, these are the 2 points before I wind up.
It's there in your prayer, must be?
Yes, that's in the prayer.
Full pay and allowance during the period of suspension.
Now,
pension, where is it mentioned?
Pension, I have said.
Pension benefits which he is entitled to. Yes.
Pension I have asked for. Now, wait at the but I have shown your lordship the relevant provisions. Now, what I have to do here is this position is well covered by judgment of this honorable court. I had the privilege of appearing in this matter for the petitioner, for the appellant. 2006 SCC Online, Calcutta 205, 2006 4 CHN 53. Now, in this case, similar case, where he was dismissed from service, then after that again reinstated, but he was not paid his full subsistence allowance. Now, here, the court was very clear about this. After noticing everything, and I'll straight away take your lordship to character marking character judgments. It's to wasting time. Please. Paragraph 9. If therefore the petitioner appellant continued on the suspension for 18 years, he was bound to be paid the whole subsistence allowance as per the rules, or as the case may be, the bipartite settlement. This proposition is no more in res integra, and the Supreme Court, in a reported decision in Andhra Bank versus W.T. Sheshachalam, JT 2004-1 SC 367, has held that a delinquent is entitled to get subsistence allowance as per paragraph 5 of the bipartite settlement, which we have quoted above, provided the delinquent has been acquitted in the criminal cases pending against such delinquent. In that case also, like the present case, there was a criminal case pending against the petitioner, which ultimately resulted in acquittal by the appellate court, though initially the delinquent in that case was convicted by the trial court. It was argued before the Supreme Court that throughout submitting about the fact that civil court has jurisdiction, even if there is the matter is covered by the Industrial Disputes Act. Now, a few judgments have been cited by me. Uh, I'm afraid that there is a judgment which might be cited by them, which has not noticed any of these judgments. And Millard, in view of that, Millard, I would say that it is per incurium, but let them come up with that. Now, this is another judgment here. This is UN Pandey, Millard. I think it is in your lordship's file. UN Pandey.